What's up, guys? My name is Khan and we're back today with more Scrap Mechanic, and today we're back with an awesome creation, and that is this fantastic wood chipper here. So in the last video we did an item spawning turret and we created those weird vortices with the black holes, and a few of you mentioned in the comments that you don't need to just use numbers to determine what item is being spawned, but you can actually use sensors with the item spawner and actually read what you're spawning, not only in the item itself but in the color. So over here we've got a basic setup with the custom block spawner, and we've got two sensors that are painted that are hooked into it. They're not color sensors. The color mode you can see is off, but they're painted specific colors, and the white sensor determines the color of the block and the black sensor determines what block it is. So you can see if we have nothing on this block here, so the sensors aren't picking up anything, it'll spawn just a default concrete block. But if we put a metal block down here, for example, and we paint this, let's say this light blue color, then you can see both sensors are picking up the block, and now if we spawn it, it'll spawn a metal light blue block. So by doing this, we can actually sort of manipulate what the spawners are spawning. Now, as far as I can tell, you can't spawn an entire object. So even if we have a bunch of blocks connected like this, it's only actually picking up this one block here in the corner. And if we paint the rest of these yellow, for example, it'll never duplicate that object. You can see it's only picking up the one block. So it is slightly limited in that sense. You can only spawn an individual object. It's not like you can mass produce a complicated creation, but still a really, really cool suggestion. And of course, with that, the only thing I could think of is we've got to build a wood chipper, because it would be super cool to have a wood chipper that could just shred objects and of course shoot out all the particles. And that's exactly what we did here. So we're gonna run it again before I jump in and just look at how all this works. It's actually a pretty simple setup, but I think it's a lot of fun. So this is, of course, the power level. We can adjust how powerful the particles jump out. This is at power level 1. Let's set it to power level 2, and we'll just grab our block here. We'll weld it onto our magical thing. Now, the one thing I will say about this is this log is not actually made of the regular wood parts. It's actually made from the destructible parts mod. And the reason why is we're using the sharp stuff mod to create those sort of saw blades. And the saw blades, unfortunately, only use spud guns to break stuff. So they can only really break glass and cardboard or any other destructible parts. And of course, the destructible parts mod creates a duplicate of all the parts you can see here that have this little orange symbol that lets us know that they're in fact destructible. So it's a really, really useful mod in order to make stuff like this, but unfortunately, the wood chipper won't work with regular parts unless it's just cardboard or glass. But regardless, I just wanted to make some kind of a crazy prototype and have this awesome sort of, you know, saw blade wood chipping assembly. So anyways, we're going to just fire it up. So the red switch turns it on. Of course, the orange and brown buttons adjust the power level of the ejection force. And then if we press this yellow switch, it'll retract that piston, which of course, look at that, just shreds it. Just amazing. The game's going to lag a lot. Oh, got stuck. The log is stuck. Escape. We can just pull the piston back a little bit and push it forward more. Oh, no. Oh, no. No. No, we're killing the game with frames. Come on. Oh boy, we're spawning too many blocks. Oh god. Yeah, this is sort of one of the problems with the wood chipper. It spawns. There we go. Keep shredding that log. Yeah, gotta finish the. Oh boy, this is like 2 FPS. Okay, can we finish shredding? I don't know if it's working or not. You know what? That's why we have the black hole gun on the map. Believe it or not, this is another one of those creations where you kind of need the black hole gun to help clean up your messes. Don't worry, we'll get there eventually. This is a beautiful PowerPoint presentation. We'll eventually get to that turret, and then we just need to activate it, and it'll hopefully clean up the mess. You know what? We should have turned off the wood chipper. If you turn off the wood chipper, it will stop putting out blocks. Right, so I completely butchered that world, but I think it was kind of my fault. I probably should have had my hand on the red emergency shutoff switch, like every good equipment operator should know. You know, gotta keep your hand on that E-stop button, and in this case, you gotta keep your hand on the emergency red switch. And if you start to see a little bit of lag, you turn off that switch right away and clean up the whole map using the black hole gun. So we're gonna try shredding this log again, and then we'll take a look more specifically at the insides of this. And we do have our black hole gun handy here with an explosive spawner on a fresh map. I did do a ton of testing on that previous map, so there were probably a ton of stray blocks all over the place. And I think the blocks, when they're in collision with the ground, really cause all the lag problems. When they're floating in the air with the black hole gun, it doesn't seem to cause any issues. But anyways, we're gonna keep this at power level. We'll set it up to 2 again, we'll turn that on. And this time we'll make sure to keep our hand on that red switch. If you turn the red switch off, even if the log is still inside there, it'll stop creating all the blocks that come out. But here we go. We'll hit this on the yellow, and perfect. We should start shredding our log there. Look at that. Amazing. Uh-oh, they're all going through the train again. Okay, well, we got our hand on the red switch. Now we're still good. See, the log didn't get stuck that time. Perfect. Problem solved. And log's completely gone. We can turn off the machine, and see, now we have this problem with the infinite. It's okay. We can fix that. There we go. We'll just put a chair. Seems to... Perfect. So I'm sure a few of you have already figured out how this works. It's actually a relatively simple design. It might look a little bit complicated with the logic, but it's actually just because it's got to duplicate a few different things. So obviously we've got a nice little bed here, and we've got a rotating set of saw blades. These are pretty simple. They're from the Sharp Stuff mod. And of course, they're just hooked into this gas engine right here on the outside. And when you turn on that red switch, it turns on the gas engine as well as some other logic inside. This is just a really simple double piston assembly that goes all the way from this point, and it's completely lined up so that when the caution blocks are done moving, they're actually right along this line here, which makes sure that no matter what you've built, it will get completely shredded by the shredder. Now, the blocks coming out, although they're the same blocks that you actually shredded, they're not the same blocks. I mean, they are the same, like they're wooden blocks if we made it out of wood, but they're not the same ones that you actually fed into the machine. The machine completely eats whatever you feed it, and then we've got these 4 sets of sensors here underneath, and one sensor's white and one sensor's black. And just like that demo we looked at earlier, the one sensor reads the color of the block you're shredding, and the other sensor reads the type of block. Now, of course, the only problem with this is if we take a look at our log, obviously we've got a different color on the inside than the outside, and those sensors, seeing as how they're only on the top, they're only really going to pick out this brown material, which is why all the blocks coming out are brown, and apparently one concrete block. I don't know where that came from. So mostly they're just going to be that brown wood block. And if you make a design that's complicated and has like a different interior, you may or may not get all the different blocks coming out. Now, like I said before, you do have to use the destructible parts mod, but we could feed it anything. We could feed it thrusters or anything like that, and it should be able to get the thrusters to come out as long as they can fit in this exit tube, which I guess a thruster couldn't because this is a 3x3 area. We're just reading all the information here, and we're sending that information with logic to 4 separate part spawners here inside the tube. And actually, we can kind of jump down in here to really see what's going on. So we've got our 4 part spawners, and they're kind of positioned in such a way where the parts will spawn sort of pretty much where I'm standing here, and I think we're actually completely trapped. So then if we dig our way out, you can see those part spawners just sort of spawn the parts down in here, and then we've got 9 burster blocks, of course, from Mini's mod pack, which is exactly what we're adjusting with this power level here. So as you change the power level, you change the strength of those bursters, which in turn will make the objects come flying out of this tube that much faster. And it was a pretty decent balancing act. It took a little while to get it in such a way where the blocks would actually spawn and eject out and not just spawn and get stuck. But I'm really happy with the way this design works, and I think it's a pretty cool sort of parts shredder. And of course, you want to make sure you have that black hole gun so that you can clean up the map and not have too much of a problem. So I figure what we'll do is we'll just shred a few more parts now. I think what I want to do is turn the black hole gun on permanently and just leave it on. And that way it will actually just sort of create a vortex up there. Again, we'll kind of jam this down so it doesn't pull itself in too much. There we go. And then we'll just take our block, and we do have to kind of weld this block onto here. I guess you could make some sort of a claw grabbing arm device, but we've got that welded on here, and then we should just be able to turn our black hole gun on. Oh, right. Right. We'll just actually leave it welded on here to this piece. It shouldn't matter if it's welded straight to the caution blocks. Crank the power level up on this to, like, I don't know, let's say 10. That's really gonna send those parts flying. And here we go. Yeah, there we go. That's a shredder. That's a shredder if I've ever seen one. Okay, we ate that log in like 3 seconds. That was it. So of course we could keep shredding logs with this. I will upload this to the workshop if you guys want to shred whatever you want. As long as it, you know, can eject the parts out, you should be able to shred it. And again, as long as they are from that destructible parts mod. Now the thing I will warn you about the shredder, which is why it became a huge lag fest before, is as soon as you turn this on, the sensors will start picking up any object. So as long as there's an object in front of one of the black sensors, it'll try and spawn that object and eject it out. So if I like put a block here, for example, you can see we're now actually producing that block. And if I put one here and paint it a specific color, like pink, now we're making a pink version of that block. So the black sensor picks up the block here, and the color is picked up by this one in front. And so you can see we're actually just spawning those parts up. Now, it's okay to do this because we've got the black hole gun on. All the parts are staying in air, and there's no real collisions happening with the ground, except for these parts that are apparently going way up and over, and then going through the ground and creating an orbit. But it's pretty simple stuff, so I will warn you, make sure you do, when you use this, have your hand on that red switch. You can see if we turn the red switch off, even though these blocks are still covering the sensor, it instantly shuts off the spawning capability. And that's really important to note, because if you get your object jammed like we got it before, I should have turned off the sensor, it would have stopped shredding it. Because the log was jammed here, and the piston wasn't pushing it into the destruction part, it wasn't breaking it anymore, and it was actually just consistently ejecting blocks out. So now we've got, it looks like some sort of a crazy bee's nest there, and the game is starting to get a little bit laggy, so let's just delete all that. We'll turn this off, and then of course we'll just clean this up by spawning some explosives. But of course, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I will upload this wood chipper to the workshop. Again, it's a pretty awesome creation, but like I said, you might want to use it with the black hole gun and be very, very careful, because it will lag out your world very quickly, spawning all individual blocks. Just another cool sort of novelty creation. But of course, let me know what you guys think of this build in the comments down below. What other crazy builds would you like to see? I definitely want to do some more stuff with gravity. I think the black hole is really, really cool. It would be cool to make some sort of a pattern type maker that actually could make deliberate patterns. But of course, I'd love to hear what you guys think, and while you're at it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.